Welcome to Ladies Talk Show. This is your host, Leah Richeimer. Remember, we're on chapter 8. So remember, we are HOT. H is how to say it. O is the outcome desired, and T is timing. And we're going through them all so that we can be the best communicators possible. And as you've seen from these recent shows about the communication, how much of a game changer they are in terms of closeness. And that's what we want to provide for you. Chazal have beautiful things to say about this, and it gives us chizik, gives us strength, and it gives us practical. So we're good. We're good. Okay, we're going to go into O. We did H. Watch the last few shows. You'll see it's a game changer in life. Okay, we're going to do outcome desired. We're on Marriage Secrets, page 189, outcome desired. This is the O. Now, on to the next point to consider in our hot toolbox, and that is outcome desired. This entails using your feminine bina, wisdom and understanding. Before you open your mouth, think about what your goal is in the communication. Is it to win the point or to increase shalom bayis? That's the biggest question here. Is it to win the point or to increase shalom bayis? Trying to think long-term in every communication will help you to see things from a broader perspective. If you're trying to influence your husband about something, long-term thinking is always better than acting out of an emotional outburst in the moment. Obviously, we all have opinions that can add great value to the directions of our lives, but how we share those opinions can make or break the home. My students all nod their heads in agreement when I say, unasked for advice is seldom welcome, but yet they smile knowingly when I say, everyone thinks that just because they stood under the chuppah with their husband, their advice is continuously welcome on any subject at any time. Okay. Learning how to give advice will increase the effectiveness of our communication exponentially. The main secret is, rather than trying to force our opinion onto our husband, if we withhold our opinion for a bit, until our husband actually asks for it, our opinion carries 10 times its normal weight. The soft sell approach actually makes our advice and opinions much more sought after and valued. Midrash Bereshis Rabbah tells us, Hashem put Bini Yasera into women, meaning that we were granted a unique ability to take valuable lessons from other circumstances and apply them to the current situation. This is much like the seasoned shoe salesman who tells his trainee, rather than pressuring a woman to buy a pair of shoes that she's trying on, instead, take 3 giant steps back. Stand there and wait patiently. Much of the time, your respect and courtesy will be appreciated, putting your shopper in the best mood to buy. She will then perhaps even solicit your advice about the shoes, and your odds of selling a pair of shoes go way up. Our goal is to be like that shoe salesman, to inspire our husband to solicit our advice and opinions, since this is the ideal way for him to actually be able to hear them. This is only achieved by using a courteous manner, and if we force our opinions on him, it will likely be rebuffed. We have been gifted with Bini Yasera, an extra dose of wisdom, in order to present our thoughts in a way that makes them palatable to our husband. Giving advice. You ready for this, guys? Giving advice. We're going to learn how to give advice. Okay. This is page 190. Creating an atmosphere where our husband seeks our opinions takes planning and thinking before we speak. It starts by asking ourselves if what we're about to say is going to accomplish what we hope to achieve, or will it be just put our husband on the defensive? Mishlei teaches us the wisdom of woman builds a house. We build by empowering our husband. Your opinion is needed, but how a woman makes use of her bina can raise her husband up or tear him down. With some forethought and a little planning ahead, we can accomplish much. Start by making a list of things you would like to discuss with your husband. Using a notebook is very helpful. Then prioritize them by level of importance. So you start with the top instead of focusing on something that is much less essential to you. You know what I'm saying? You're prioritizing. Then brainstorm ways that you feel would be best for your husband to hear the issue. Perhaps you realize that your husband has his mind set on flying to his parents' home for Yom Tov. Saying, I think it's a very bad idea to go away for Yom Tov, just sets up an adversarial situation. Instead, think about alternative approaches. Perhaps write him a note saying, just wanted to put in my 2 cents. Traveling with a new baby is going to be pretty hard on me. Any chance you would reconsider? Or maybe plan your husband's favorite meal and afterwards sit on the couch and say, I've been thinking about Yantiv plans. I will try to get my mindset to support you fully if you still want to go, but I'm really having second thoughts about it. Do you mind if we discuss the pros and the cons a bit? We are exceptionally gifted in this area, and we must not let the prevailing attitude about power and equality ruin our home life such that we do not get our own needs met. Just remember to relinquish ultimate control and to seek shalom so that your decisions will be fully blessed. The Gemara relates that when Rav Eliezer ben Azariah was appointed to the position of Nasi, he first said, let me ask my wife and see what she advises. Why did our Gedolim turn to their wives for guidance? Because our opinions are desperately needed, but how we present them makes all the difference in the world. Okay, ladies, everybody put your questions in. Yeah. Okay, good.
Yes,
Okay,
we have some come in. Here they are. So Sari asks, oftentimes when my husband and I stop a conversation to avoid a heated argument, when I try to bring it up again, my husband says it over, don't live in the past. This leaves me hurt and confused. I tried to talk to him about it and he said the same thing. Do I carry on and have an argument of just let it go forever, even though it lives in my heart?
Did they resolve it in the conversation? I didn't understand that.
It sounds like they didn't resolve it. And when she brings it up again, he says, why are you talking about the past? But it still hurts her. So should she let it go, even though it's in her heart?
I've got an idea for you. When he says, why are you talking about the past? Say, it doesn't hurt me in the past. It hurts me right now. Right now, I'm feeling it. It hurts. Can we talk? Pain is not, no, she should not sweep it under the rug. You should not sweep it under the rug. But you have to understand, for whatever reason, I don't know why, God gave you a man who has a thinking it's in the past, and he's not there with you with this issue, I once had one of my students was dating, this is when I used to help dating, now I just do shalom bias, but when I was doing dating, a woman said to me, that she kept bringing up everything, why, you said you're supposed to pick me up at 7, it's 7:30. You didn't call. And he said, I don't like to talk about these types of things. Everything, like anything he did wrong that she brought up, he didn't like to talk about it. I'm like, that's not a good, it's a red flag. Hello. So for this woman who is, whose husband says, why are you bringing up the past? He has just mistaken thinking. It's not that he's a bad guy or that's not a red flag. It's just he has a mistaken thinking of thinking that, just because men are a light switch, they can turn on and off, women, brew, so she just needs to explain that to him in as nicest, sweetest way she possibly can. And, say, look, I know for you, it feels like it's bringing up the past, but for me, I need to come back to harmony with you. Like when there's a conflict or a disagreement or a communication breakdown or misunderstanding, I need to be able to verbalize it. It's actually a Taurosaurus, but I wouldn't wave that in his face. I need to be able to, what's the word I'm looking for? I need to be able to process that and come back to harmony with you. I need to be able to figure out why the misunderstanding happened. How are we going to grow as a couple? If this happened and you hurt my feelings and you don't really understand why, good chance you're going to do it again. If I say something and I said it too harshly and you're upset about it, okay, it's amazing that you can say, oh, forget it. Let's bring up the past, but then I will never learn to be a better wife to you. I'm not willing to spend my life just operating in the dark and stabbing you and not knowing it. I want to know everything I'm doing that might hurt you and vice versa. Anything you're doing, we need to grow and learn. So I hear where you're coming from about this, and I respect you enormously, and I hear that. But I'm not bringing up the past. I'm not talking about old things. I'm talking about things so that we can come back to harmony by understanding where each other's coming from, and that's our best chance of not repeating bad hurts. And if you say it from your heart like that to his heart, and he does not hear it, I mean, I think there's a decent chance he'll hear it. But if he does not hear it, then you absolutely must go to a third party with him or without him and say, I'm not sure how we can resolve conflicts, because anything I bring up, he thinks is past history. And I think he needs somebody else, a Rav, a Rebbitzin, Gadol, to tell him that he's got to resolve. He's got to when there's a conflict, you've got to come back to harmony through communication. That's the job of a husband. It's the job of a wife. And he just may not understand that. And he might have grown up in a home where there was just a lot of tension and nothing ever got resolved. And there was just, you got to create a more healthy, more supportive, more godlike home, because that's what God wants of us. It's why, resolving these conflicts is why we're put on the earth, is to get closer and closer to our husband and closer to our family, closer to our friends. That's what we're here for. Okay. Good question. Here we go.
Okay, beautiful. Rivka asks, I used to sit down with my husband periodically to discuss how we think our relationship is doing and if there's an area in which we can grow. But I stopped initiating because every session would end up with being my husband complaining about everything. Do you think it's wise I give up on these relationship assessment sessions, or did I just go about them in the wrong way?
Without being a fly in the wall and hearing everything that was said, that's impossible for me to know. I think that's a nice idea. It's a little dangerous for the reason you mentioned, that the husband just says, oh yeah, this is how you should improve. So I'm not sure what your, we're on outcome, the outcome you're looking for. I'm not sure what the outcome was. I think probably you want to be closer to your husband and to clear out any debris. But if you say, what's wrong with our relationship? People will come up with the answer, you could be, you start off with what's right about our relationship, what's working. We know from the Muslim movement that if you, let's say you have three things you want to work on your anger issue, you want to work on your lateness, and you want to work on your kavana in davening, right? And the first two are really, really hard and time consuming and hard, whatever. Kavana in davening, it means heartfelt. I don't know how you translate kavana. Yeah, I guess, does anyone have kavana?
Like concentration and intention in your prayer.
Yeah, intention. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. So, that you could just put little Post-it notes, you don't have to have words on them, every page saying, whatever, you can underline words, you can, whatever. That the point I'm making is you always want to take the lowest hanging fruit in terms of your own growth, because then that success will spur you on to try more challenging midos correction, character refinement, character improvement. So same here too, is that, if you were to say to your husband, what's working in our relationship, and how can we grow that? That would be the direction that would be most effective. But even that may or may not be the most effective way to have closeness in your relationship. My advice would be to figure out, as a wife, how can you receive more from your husband? How can you be more appreciative? How can you be more thankful? How can you remove resentments and anger you've had from the past? Can you forgive him more? Work on those things. Forget about your relationship with, whatever. Work on the things that you have a handle on, that you can do, that we're required to do, that the Masorah says, if you do these things, you will have all of your needs met, and you will have the closeness you've always desired, and you will make Hashem the proudest. So work on those things, letting go of control, being more of an influencer, being more supportive, being more welcoming, being more appreciative, all of the things that we've been working on thus far, and we're going to be learning a lot more. Working on those things, and you will see a huge shift in your ability to be close. You don't need to psychoanalyze, what doesn't work, what works, what needs improvement, what doesn't need improvement. Not that that's a bad thing. And sometimes in therapy, there, I would imagine, that could be the core of a therapy work that you would do in therapy. But in your case, that specific thing kind of backfired. So I would just focus on the things you can do, and Meretz Hashem, the outcome desired that you wanted by doing that exercise. I don't know that we have a source for that exercise. I have to think about that. Anyway, I don't know, but I do know these ones are bulletproof and guaranteed, and try them at home. Okay, good question. Let's go on. What's the next one get?
Okay, Rachel asks, if my husband is disappointed with himself professionally, did I contribute to his lack of success? If I was a better wife, would he be more successful? I thought that behind every successful man is an amazing wife.
So the answer is a little bit funny, because the answer is unfortunately absolutely yes. But the other answer is that we don't know what the gezerah is, what the gezerah is from Hashem. The gezerah. How do you translate gezerah? I'm asking a lot of you today. Decree. Yeah, very good. Okay, so decree. So we don't know what the decree is from God. So it could be that, that you were supposed to, God forbid, another person over there, they were supposed to lose all their money, right? And because the wife was doing so much shalom bias and was working so hard on it and being a receiver and bringing in bracha and being, giving her husband control and letting go and being an awesome wife and being a great receiver, they only lost half their money. So from the woman's standpoint, it's like, I'm doing everything possible, and whatever, we lost half our money. It's like, no, sweetie pie, you still have a house, you still have a car, you were supposed to lose everything and live in, whatever, God forbid, not you, Plony, we're talking about somebody over here. But I'm just saying, we don't really know, we can't necessarily witness it. So all we can do, because we don't know God's plan and we don't know, life is a huge tapestry. And we're seeing a few little threads from the back. So we don't really know what's going on. After 120, we'll be able to see everything clearly, how it why everything had to be the way it was. But we do know one thing, and that is, if we do everything we can to be the best wife we can and be the best receiver we can, we are bringing in the maximum flow of bracha into our home. And even whatever it looks like, it would have been worse. That's for sure. So just keep working on it. Sometimes it's disheartening. You're doing everything right and you're thanking your husband, whatever, and he's still depressed that he's not a good provider and he's this and whatever. And you're saying you're wonderful to me, and in the eyes of God, you're a wonderful husband, you're supportive, you're loving. Okay, the parnas hasn't come yet. That's Hashem's gezerah, his decree. But you are making me as happy as you can, and that's the most important thing that God wants from you. And I'm very grateful, and just thank him more. If you're having issues in your relationship and you got conflicts and you're going through a rough time in any way, shape, or form, thank your husband more. You will see the bracha from this. Try this at home. Great question. I love that question. And it's not an easy one. So you've got to try, you've got to have bitachon and amuna that and just continue taking the actions necessary to be the best receiver you possibly can be. Beautiful. Okay, good.
Amazing. Okay. Nechama's question is that she's been trying so hard to avoid arguing and to maintain constant shalom bias that she lost her voice in her marriage. I never think to offer my opinion anymore, but I know my husband wants it and needs it on certain issues. How do I continue to walk on eggshells, but also remember to speak up? How do I tap into my bini yisera when I haven't in years? Sounds like she shut herself down.
Right, and I can't, yeah. That's very unusual. I mean, it's very unusual and very sad. I can't imagine a woman just completely shutting off. She's needed. It's like she disappeared herself. I mean, it's almost self-abuse or something like that. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on that or whatever, but it doesn't sound, it doesn't sound like, obviously unhealthy, but it doesn't sound like, she's trying to be, she's whatever it is that she's doing isn't following the Masorah. So right. I think she just needs to redirect, pick herself up on the bookstore, in whatever, by the bootstraps, read Marriage Secrets again if you've read it already, or start reading it or whatever, because this will teach you how to follow Masorah. Whatever you're doing that is that is disappearing yourself, that's not a requirement of Chazal. It's actually shunned, or is that the word? You're not supposed to do that. Whatever you're doing isn't following our Masorah. So, and especially if you've ending up feeling like the way that you feel, it's very sad. So I would learn the Masorah to learn what the right things are to do to be an influencer rather than a controller. And if there's some reason that is causing you to, your desire is to be a better wife and you're just putting in the wrong energies, learning the right energies, to right things, to right tactics and tools to use will hopefully bring you the success that you're looking for. If what's causing you to do that is based on past trauma or drama in your life or dysfunction that is making you think you don't exist and you don't have a voice, that's very bad and very sad. And you need to get therapy to work with somebody to figure out why you're, beating yourself up. So that's a little bit standing on one foot for probably a deeper issue, whatever. That's the best I can do in this format where I'm sort of answering a vague question with a vague answer. But I do know that if the results you're getting look like what making you feel low about yourself, there's something you're not doing right. And you may not be capable of doing it right without reading the book 10 times or without getting therapy to understand what is blocking you from being the receiver that you could be without decreasing your self-esteem. Because, a woman should be ultimate receiver, as big as she can, to receive the ocean and still feel like a powerhouse and feel like her voice is heard and feel like she has, she's guiding, and directing and her input is needed desperately by her husband and running the ship, and that she's like this integral part of running this complicated life in an extraordinary way, and the serenity and the joy and the simcha that comes with that. That's what should be the result. So if you're not getting that result, there's something wrong about the way you're going about it. And Hashem should bench you with clarity and koyach, strength to turn that ship, pick up and go on a new ship and head in the right direction. Beautiful question.
Yeah, beautiful. I'm wondering also if she thinks she's being like a tzaddikus by closing her mouth. But Leah, what you taught us is there's a balance between influence and control and a woman having her voice. So important.
Right. Yeah,
okay,
beautiful.
Golda asks, sometimes my parents ask my opinion in certain matters in front of my husband. Should I ask my husband what he thinks about it, even though my parents want my opinion, or I should just tell them my opinion? Does it give my husband control and kavod to ask his opinion, or is it not necessary?
It's a beautiful question, and it's actually a shalom bias problem that the parents are asking her opinion. That's wrong of them. They're the one who are making a mistake. And if you're a mother-in-law or a father-in-law or a parent of children, parents of a daughter, take note. This is absolutely usher. It's forbidden for you to put that daughter in such a awkward situation. You can't do that. You're making her disrespect her husband in front of her husband with witnesses, his in-laws. It's such a tragic thing. And I actually asked a Rav once, I said, what is the obstacle to shalom bayis? They said, why are there so many divorces? I'm going to jump out the window. No, I'm not going to, don't worry. But you gotta, someone just told me a funny thing. I said, and they said, I wanted to stick a fork in my eye. I'm like, anyway, whatever. I don't know why, I'm sharing that. But the point is that it's better than jumping out the window, I guess, because you can survive it. But I'm really getting off topic. Hello. It's a hard one, is that if you're an in-law or a parent of a child, you are mechuyev, you're totally obligated to do things that bring them close together and that helps the daughter respect her husband. So asking your daughter her opinion and he's sitting there and you're ignoring him. No. We want to know what you think. No, you said, what do you guys think? You're a unit. What do you guys think? And then ask the husband, what do you ask him first? Or you say, I want to hear both of your opinions, but I want to hear, the wife's first, just because if the husband says his opinion, she'll take whatever he said. She won't want to contradict him. So, you can do fun little games like that, sweet little things like that. It still is dangerous because it still might make him feel less of a man, which a woman is obligated not to do. Oh yeah, I remember what I was saying is I asked her, Rob, what does he think is the biggest problem? Why are so many divorces? You know what his answer was? In-law interference. That he is on the Beis Din and he sees constant and all these divorces. And when they get down the core of it, how the whole thing felt unraveled, his opinion, this is a gadol, his opinion was in-law interference. I'm literally, this is where the fork in the eye really needs out. Don't be that person. Do whatever you can as a parent and as an in-law to foster your daughter or your daughter-in-law respect for her husband. You give covered more respect to the husband, okay? Doesn't mean she doesn't have a voice. It means that the whole direction follows our Masorah, which is that the husband is in control of the household and the decisions in the household, and the woman is influencing. And you know, what is it? The husband is the head of the household, but the wife is the neck. You know, like she's the one, whatever. So it's like, yeah, we have a lot of power, ladies. Don't think this is a, step down from reality. We have a lot of power, but how we use that power in a soft manner, it makes all the difference in the world. And if a man feels that he has control and power in his own life, his parnasa goes up, his joy in life goes up. He makes you happier. He's more interested in cherishing you and taking care of your emotional well-being, which is a big job for a man. It's like his full-time job is managing your emotional stature, your emotional fortitude, the strength that you have. That's your husband's job. And he's no interest if you're criticizing him and have all the control in the family. If you give him that control, he's totally taking care of you, cherishing you and totally taking care of you. Guaranteed from Chazal, from Hashem, okay, himself. So the point is in the problem here is the in-laws. And if the in-laws do ask you that question and say, we want to hear your opinion, say, I'm much more interested in what my husband thinks about it. Give your husband the covet. Don't just answer. Your parents are making a mistake. And at a later date, you can sit down with them and say, when you ask me my opinion in front of my husband, I think that's it. I'm sorry to say, say this in as respectful a way as you can, because kibbud av v'em is important, honoring your parents. What's more important than kibbud av v'em is shalom bayis. Ask your local Orthodox Rav, they will all agree. Shalom bayis comes first. A man leaves his parents and cleaves to his wife. There's so many sources about that. A woman serves her whatever, look it up, ask your local Orthodox Rav. But the most important thing here, you can go behind and say, Mom, when you ask my opinion in front of my husband, please don't do that anymore. And if you do, I'm going to say, I want my husband's opinion. And you can tell your mom, if she says, oh, that, you maybe she's feminist, or not that I'm anti-feminist, whatever. I've talked about this a lot, whatever. You can watch my other shows. I'm not anti-feminist, but it did teach us the wrong thing about a man needing control. And they say women need the control. Women need something far more important than control, and that's connection and closeness. And this is the way to get it. We're teaching you exactly step by step. And for this, you say to your mom, and if your mom fights with you about it, say, listen, this is a ground rule, very, very important to me. If you ask me my opinion, I'm going to ask my husband's opinion. I'm sorry, if you agree with it, you don't agree with it, that's what's going to happen. And you can even say, I went to a shir that made very, very clear about this. And so this is, I have a right to how I want to handle it. And that's what I'm going to do. And if they don't listen, then you have to spend less time there. And this is, ask your Rav, they will back me up on this. I've asked this Shalom many, many times, that if the in-laws are causing any kind of friction in shalom bayis, something's got to go, and it ain't the husband. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That was a very harsh answer to a very plain question, but very, very important to understand this. Okay, good. What's the next question?
Okay, beautiful. Dina asks, how can I communicate with my husband when he is having trouble communicating nicely to me? My husband always offers his opinion and he does not speak in a soft tone. Is there a way I can respond to elicit kinder communication from him?
It's a great question. And by the way, you and 100% of women, men have this way of, the soft language ain't their strong suit, and expecting them. Look, there was this whole movement in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, I think. I don't know, where psychologists said that, the way you should parent is like a woman. They're all written by women, mostly, not speaking harshly, not hitting, I'm not weighing in on any of these things, but I'm just saying that it was this whole movement of softness that didn't follow Chazal. Like, there's no source for that a man should be speaking like a woman and should talk like a woman and treat a child like a woman. And husbands are more harsh. A kid will say something nasty at the table, where the woman will say, "Don't speak that way. That's not very nice. Would you like to be spoken to that way?" And that's the way a woman handles it. A kid speaks harshly, and a father will say, "Get to your room without supper." That's so disproportionate. That's so mean, whatever. No, my way is the right way. We should do it soft. But guess what? Then the kids turn teenagers, and their husband, who the mother has thrown under the bus by saying, "No, we'll do it my way. You don't have to go to eat dinner. You don't have to go eat dinner go to your room without supper. We're fine. We're fine." And she's completely disempowered her husband, and his harshness is really thrown in the trash. I'm not advocating hitting. I'm not advocating meanness. I'm not advocating abuse. God forbid. God forbid. But God put men, mostly sometimes women are that way, and, women that are a little bit on the masculine side, or men that are a little on the feminine side, that's fine. God made these variances. But as a general rule, men are more harsh. And God put that into the Bria. Well, who's to say? Because 30 years worth of psychology books said that we should be softer. That's what we, I don't know that do they have sources for that? Now a man does need to be kind, and he can't be mean, and he can't be cruel, and he can't be, yelling off his head, walking around the house all the time. But there is a tinge of harshness that, as a wife, we shouldn't squelch the man out of him, basically. Or that masculine part of it. So to answer the question is that it just takes communication. Share with him all these thoughts and tell him how you feel about it. And again, heart-to-heart conversation. Wait, not in the heat of the moment, not when you're stressed and screaming and whatever. Take your time when you've thought about it. Maybe you've journaled about it, whatever, and then you communicate to him. And I think that it might be a conversation you need to have a few times, because he may not really understand it. But you understanding that how he is and how he does it isn't bad and wrong and horrible, that's really out the society telling us that that's how it should be. Again, he needs to be kind. He must be nice. That's part of it. And if he's not being nice, that's another issue that you need to deal with. Might take a third person to explain that to him. But the bottom line is you have to find a way to communicate it to him in a way that he can hear. Very, very good question. Okay, so the homework for today is, one time between now and next show, take a raise your husband up in front of your in-laws. So that might be that you're eating a Shabbos meal with them, and you say a compliment, and plan ahead of time what that compliment is, so you lose track of it or whatever. You could write it on a card saying compliment time, and we'll put it under your placemat, or I guess you have a tablecloth, whatever, to remember one time at the Shabbos meal. Or if you're not with your in-laws, just be talking to your mother or your mother-in-law. It can be either one, and say, you know what Yankee did? He brought me flowers. Or say one compliment, one thing to raise your husband up in their eyes. That's your homework for this week. One thing you have to do. It's beautiful. I'm telling you, your parents might wonder what's going on, but it will make you feel like you've done the right thing by your husband and connected in a way that you're bonded more to him than you are to your parents or to your in-laws, probably more to your parents. Okay, that's the homework for this week. This is Leah Richeimer for the Ladies Talk Show. Can't wait to see you next week. If you want more, we have so much more. If you want to learn our Masorah and have an awesome marriage, the first thing we have is a foundations course. It's a 13-week course. You get all your questions answered. It's live with me, and you can ask Q&A. It's awesome. Second thing we have is a coaching program. If you are awesome with people and you want to know the Masora better than 99% of the people on the planet Earth, like for reals, okay? It's a 4-month program. It's very intense. We have major scholarships, and we have somebody who's granted in a lot to pay for a big bulk of it. It's still a little expensive, but for what you get, and then you can start charging money to know it. That's the coaching program. Don't miss it. Go to www.ladiestalkshow.com. Look up the foundations course, look up the coaching. We do retreats, we do all kinds of stuff. You'll find it there. www.ladiestalkshow.com. Thanks for being with us. Leah Richeimer for the Ladies Talk Show.